All right. So, thank you guys for being here today. It's been a while. It's been a while since my guests on today's podcast and I have actually done something together. She helped me a lot with On the Brain a few years ago, and I'm happy to hear that she's back on. She wanted to do a project with me. Allie, how's it going?
Good. How are you?
How you been since the last time we've recorded?
Good. A lot has changed, but very good.
We did a podcast on the subject of self-esteem, and even though I enjoyed doing that podcast with you, and we got a lot of good feedback, it was a little rough.
It was a little rough since there was background audio and we filmed for a long time and we had to break it up into two separate pieces.
And I was working with equipment that was overheating.
We were not working with the best stuff, so I'm glad to be back to follow up from a lot longer time ago. Yeah,
and I'm happy for you. So I'm going to use this as basically a follow-up to what we had talked about before. Do you see a difference in how we were, and where we were a few years ago, like 6 years ago, compared to where you are now? How has life been?
There's a huge difference. I feel like back then I viewed self-esteem differently than I do now. I think I understand it more now than I did back then. I felt like I was still trying to find myself with, my self-worth and my self-awareness. So that was, it took me a while to actually, I felt like I talked about it, but I didn't act on it, if that makes sense.
It makes sense.
So now, I made a lot of changes in my life, and I'm definitely ready to accept the whole parts of me, and especially with self-esteem.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's interesting, because acceptance is something that we've all had issues with. At least I can definitely say for myself, accepting who I am and my differences and what makes me instead of trying to please everyone else.
Yeah, absolutely.
That is something that I, to this day, kind of struggle with, but I've gotten to a point where I can say I like this version of myself. What is it that brought you to that epiphany?
When we filmed back 6 years ago, I was in a very bad place. I was very depressed. I had a lot of anxiety, and since then I wrote a book and I focused on myself for once in my life. Had a really big weight loss and just decided that I wasn't living and it was time for me to live, and I had to make those changes in order to do so.
All right, so About the book you wrote, can you tell us a little bit about what that's about?
That is basically about my past, the struggles that I had with suicide, depression, bullying. Plus, there's also some original poetry in there that's very lighthearted. Some of them is lighthearted, some's a little deep. But it mostly talks about my struggles with suicide, depression, bullying, feeling like an outsider in my family. So yeah.
Wait. We had talked about this a few times before we started doing this, and I've known you for a while, and we've actually gone through some stuff together. And so I saw a little bit of what you meant when you're talking about like feeling like an outsider in your own family. So how did you combat that from then to now?
I was in such a place where I was so concerned with blaming my family that when I went to express it, it came off wrong and accusatory. So you have to let things go. You know, you never forget. You can forgive, but you can't forget. And I had to come to a point where I had to value myself over what their opinions were. And their opinions, you know, can change, but I can't change them. You know, they are what they are. So I had to come and really, it was all about self-discovery is really how I changed from that viewpoint, because I didn't know who I was, because I felt a lot of times that my view of myself was jaded by other people, and I let a lot of people's version of me affect my own version. And I had to, like you said, love the version of yourself that you are. And that was a long process, and I'm still on that process. I'm still on that journey. So, you know, it's not an easy task, but it's worth it. The struggle is worth it.
Beautiful. So besides the weight loss, which is a journey in itself,
yes,
what other changes did you make that made you feel like they helped you along the way?
I got a job, you know, doing what I love, which is helping people. I got my own car. You know, there's something about putting a down payment on a car that feels very accomplishing, because I was without a car for a really long time, and to be able to put that money down and get a car was a pretty big accomplishment, which isn't that big of an accomplishment to some people, but to me it was a huge accomplishment, and it gave me independence, and I feel like that's what I lacked the most since we last talked, is my independence. You know?
Yeah. So, I know we had talked about it, but you could have said no to doing another podcast on the similar subject, basically the same subject, not even similar subject. We're talking about self-esteem right now. You could have said no because we've already done this. What made you want to do this recording with me today?
Because I feel like it's very important. I feel like it doesn't matter whether it was 6 years ago or now, that the topic and the concern of self-esteem is something that will always be relevant, I should say. It's always going to be a relevant topic, and it's always going to be something that I've struggled with and continue to struggle with, but know that it's possible to achieve, you know, self-acceptance and self-esteem and self-worth, and it starts with you. And I missed being able to express that with a lot of people on a larger platform. Wow.
Okay, and thanks for choosing me, because I'm not that large.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter. It's all about the people that you share things with. And yes, my book is in public domain, and so anybody can get it. But at the same time, I trust you, and I trust your viewers, and they've already heard it, most likely. Maybe not if they're new, but yeah.
What I'll do is I'll put a link to your book in the description, so for anyone that wants to check it out, because it's still out there,
yes,
they can check it out. It's specifically an ebook, though, right?
Yes, it's an ebook. I didn't want to. I mean, I had it as a paperback, but I just switched it to ebook only, because that's what's happening nowadays, is everybody's getting ebooks.
Are you still writing? Please say yes.
I'm writing, but I'm not writing as much as I used to, which is kind of sad, because writing is my passion, and I love it, and it's very therapeutic, and it has helped me along the way, but haven't written anything yet in a while. I have to admit that, unfortunately.
What do you like to write the most?
A lot of self-discovery stuff. Mostly I write about my things that I went through. I feel like it's what I know the most about, and I also feel like I always want to help people. So I always feel like I have a story that can relate to somebody else and could possibly help somebody else, and I thrive on that.
That's awesome. Okay, so I want to get some. I want to get some input from other two guests we got.
We're not alone.
Yeah, we are not alone today. We got my new friend in editing and production. We got Boot and NJ, and we also got my brother from another mother, Peepers, here, Tom, Mr. Tom Masari.
Yeah.
So, what do you guys think? We've been interviewing Allie for about 11 minutes now, and she's opened up a lot. And I can really, even after all this time, I really have to say thank you for even wanting to do this. But what do you guys think about what you've heard so far?
I mean, I think personally, like self-awareness and all that, I feel like sometimes it'll take a lifetime, I think, to discover who you truly are. You know, like I'm 30 years old and I still don't know everything about me. You know, what I do know about me, I like though. You know,
Like what? Give us some examples.
I don't know. I like how I'm nerdy sometimes. I like how I like weird old TV shows, and you know, I like that I'm a good bowler and I love to play video games. Just love having fun.
See, that's a humble brag.
Friends,
Humble brag.
you know?
He's a good bowler.
Yeah,
He's a good bowler.
Sometimes. But I mean, I don't know.
You do what you can do when you can do it.
Exactly. Yeah, and I don't know. The way I see it is just always be yourself. Learn who you are. Be true to who you are. Love who you are. And, you know, to anyone who has a problem with who you are, you don't need them in your life. That's the way I see it.
I agree.
I tend to agree. You know what you said about loving yourself and being who you are.
Yeah.
I think that does channel into the self-worth aspect of it. I know Allie and I had conversations about knowing what your self-worth is and knowing what you will where you draw the line in your life with the things you expect out of your life. And that is, that goes along with, the confidence, because you have to have confidence in order to, push those boundaries and learn what you will put up with and what you just won't.
Agree.
Everyone has their limits. I mean,
yeah.
But, I mean, you definitely have to love yourself before you can ever love anyone else. So.
Yeah, and I think, too, just based off of what you both said, is, having an expectation for your life. People sometimes view that negatively, but you should want the best always for yourself. And putting yourself first is very important, and you should put yourself first. And Keith is right. We have had many conversations where making all this change, expecting, knowing that you're worth so much more than you give yourself, that in itself is a journey to know that you're worth the best of the best, whether that be in a relationship, whether that be in friendship, whether that be in your own family. You deserve the best, and you should come first, always.
Diabetes.
I'm a firm believer in the laws of attraction, which basically means you get what you put out in the world. Like if you're putting out negative energy or a negative, or a negative outlook on life, you're going to attract that kind of negativity.
And you're also going to receive that.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
So you're going so say, and I'm not saying that you got to be all happy, smiley all the time, because
that's not realistic.
Yeah,
that's
no.
not realistic. Yeah. It's not. Honestly, it's not. But speaking from my own personal experiences, I was a happy kid until I had to go outside. You know what I mean? I was a really happy kid. Like you put me, you leave me in a room with either my toys or my drawing desk, my colored pencils, or my TV, and I was a happy kid. If I had to go outside, I was afraid of everything. I was afraid of hurting myself. I was afraid of falling. I was afraid of being teased because I have cerebral palsy and I have a limp. I was afraid of saying the wrong thing to the wrong person. I was afraid of crossing the street. It was it was just stuff like that. But my family never made me feel any different. They never made me feel like I was a kid with a disability. You know what I'm saying? The people that I was around were positive, but I didn't know what that meant. Obviously, at a young age, you're just going by what everybody else is saying about you. Like if somebody would ask me, why do you walk this way? What, that to me it would be like them telling me, not asking me, but telling me that you're weird, you're different, get out of my face, stuff like that. But now as an adult and going through what I've gone through internally and externally, I can honestly say I love this version of myself. There's been times where I really felt like, what the heck is my purpose? Why the heck am I here? Why am I put on this earth? Am I put on this earth so everyone else can look at me differently, or am I actually meant to do something? You know what I'm saying? Because I like clowning, but I don't want to be a clown. You know what I'm saying? I like acting silly, but I don't think that's what I was on this earth to do. But once I let go and started saying, you know what, I'm here. Forget about trying to discover why I'm here. Just let me have some fun along the way and grow, and then maybe I'll find out what I'm supposed to do. I'm not supposed to find out right away. It's just supposed to be things that you discover.
I always had the same, preconceived notion that, everybody's put here to do something.
Right.
And I always, kind of thought about that, like, I'm here to do something, just trying to figure out what that is, And when I was in my early 30s, I said, I think I said in one of my videos where I said, like I'm 35 or 36, and I still don't know what I want to be when I grow up.
There's no time. There's no time.
You think about
absolutely none.
Exactly. You think about it in that, that frame of reference, and it can be a lot of pressure on a kid,
People who want to put that pressure, especially on a young kid, it takes people a lot of time, different career changes and everything.
And happiness for yourself, again, I can't stress enough, is important, because if you let other people dictate your happiness, you're not going to be happy.
You're not living.
You're not living, and you're not going to be happy. And I let myself dictate. I let other people dictate my life for too long.
I was just, as a kid, just so concerned about what everybody else thought of me, kids and adults, because I would get it from, I would get teased or stared at from little kids. Little kids is one thing, full-grown adults are another. You know what I mean? And
no, other people's opinions of you should mean as much as what's in this cup, and that's nothing. So.
And you're right, I agree with you 100%, but that's also an unrealistic thing, because we grew up in a society where you're so concerned about other people, what they say, because there's so many stereotypes. And like I've said, I think I said this in the original podcast, sorry.
No, you're fine.
That there's stereotypes, but at the same time, wait, I don't know.
Keep going.
I think that people view, like you were saying about you, Kyle, you're disabled, For me, it was, I'm overweight, I'm fat, so it's like I automatically don't have good hygiene. I just eat. I don't have a life. I shouldn't have a life. And I might regret saying this, but actually I'm living my life with no regrets. A lot of my family thought that I couldn't achieve happiness because of my weight. That I would never be in a relationship, or I would never be successful And for so many years, I let my weight hold me back. And I did, because I truly did end up believing that I couldn't achieve those things, or they weren't going to last because of my weight. And being bullied and being put down, that's where the self-esteem dwindles, and that's where your confidence level goes down the tubes, and you start believing what other people's version of what they think you are, and you start to believe it, and that's a very negative mindset. And to get out of that negative mindset is a difficult journey, and it takes a long time. It really takes a long time, and I feel like that's a journey I'm always going to be on the rest of my life, because I feel like it is lifelong. For me personally, dealing with being mentally and emotionally abused, being bullied, it's going to be a long road. I'm not saying it's impossible, because it's not. It's definitely possible, but it's going to be a long road. And I'm okay with that, because it's worth it to me.
Now you just said keywords. Now there have been a lot of keywords brought up. There's been, self-worth, not caring about what everybody else thinks of you. It's in loving yourself. But right there, you said it's worth it to you. It's worth it to you, and ultimately that's what it is, because we're only here for a short amount of time. If we're sitting here vicariously living through other people, then we're obviously not living for ourselves. We're not
living up to our potential. Either.
We're not living up to our potential, and it's just, after a while you just have to say, you know what, I want to do something for me. I want to try to write a book. I want to try to discover a new sport. I want to try a new drink. I want to, go out and maybe, travel somewhere I've never been to before.
Just reach for the stars. Don't look back.
Don't limit yourself.
Exactly.
Diabetes.
Exactly. Even if you have
diabetes.
Even if you have diabetes, yeah. And we're not making light of the situation. It's just,
I had diabetes.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
No, I'm
good?
not. Yeah, I'm all good now.
Nice.
Oh, wow.
That's one of the perks of the surgery.
Oh.
No diabetes, no high blood pressure.
Do you guys mind talking about the surgery?
No,
not at all.
Okay, so walk us through it. When people think weight loss surgery, a lot of people might automatically automatically think the common ones like gastric bypass or the sleeve or liposuction. What kind of surgery did you guys have, and what was your experience like after?
you want me to go first?
Sure, go ahead.
Okay, so we both had the gastric sleeve, and we actually both had the same surgeon.
Mm-hmm.
And
shout out to Richard Greco at
yeah,
Statewide
Dr.
Bariatrics.
Greco, Statewide. The whole staff at Statewide Bariatrics is incredible. Corey, the best dietitian ever. So leading, the most common question I think we both get is that, well, not question, but I think the most common comment we get is that it's the easy way out.
Right, exactly.
That a lot of people think we took the easy way out because we had weight loss surgery, and I can tell you firsthand, it is not the easy way out. It is a lot of work. They prepare you as much as they possibly can.
It's nowhere near what it really is.
Right. It's nowhere near what you actually go through. Especially everybody's different, so everybody experiences different things. And the decision to have surgery for me personally was a very difficult one to make. I wanted to make sure that I was making this decision for myself to change, to better my health, to live longer and have a family. I did not want my decision to be because my family wanted it or other people suggested I get it. I wanted it to be my sole decision, and it was the best decision I ever made. I really feel like it saved my life.
Absolutely, I completely agree. The gastric sleeve is a little different than a gastric bypass. The gastric bypass is where they cut part of your stomach out, so it makes your stomach a small pouch. And then at the same time, they also go in and take out a length of your intestines, and then reconnect that to your stomach.
So you do have a lot of problems with digestion and stuff.
Malnutrition because of absorption through the digestive tract. But this surgery is just the first part where they cut your stomach into a small pouch. And they tell you that it's a lifestyle change, but it is nowhere near what they can even describe to you, because as I like to say, that I'm a fat guy, and as a big guy, my mental state was not ready for this. I thought I was ready for this, but I really wasn't. And I had a love affair with food, is what it really comes down to. I ate to make myself feel better. When I was younger, I know you touched about when you were younger and the way people said things and it made you feel certain ways. People would look at me and think, oh, that guy's fat, he's a fat guy. And that's, of course, my nickname was Fat Boot for a while. And the thing of it is that I started to see myself as the fat guy, and so I started to eat like the fat guy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Where I would take out a whole pizza at a party, you know what I mean? And then I would just eat a bunch of random crap. And of course, over time, I started to eat my feelings, and that, that food brought me comfort. And then when I couldn't have that anymore, it was the worst feeling. I mean, I remember being severely depressed, but only for a split second, because the weight I was losing and the mobility I was gaining. I mean, I went from 553 to 350 right now.
That's great.
That's 200 pounds in 7 months.
That's amazing.
And that is beyond my wildest expectations, because I said by the end of a year that I wanted to lose 200 pounds. So 7 months, and I'm down 200 pounds. Exactly. And so at the point where I was gaining the mobility and able to do more things, I could finally start to walk without being out of breath, and I was able to do, trips to places and, walk around on boardwalks and go places and do things I had not done in so long that, it was like a child discovering something new.
I think too is something just really quickly. A question that gets brought to me sometimes as well is, why do you say the number? Why do people that have surgery say their original number and then their weight loss, where they're at? Because people are like, aren't you embarrassed to admit your original weight? And my response is, I will never be that size again. So I will consistently say what I started at. I was 481 pounds, and then I am 304 currently, and I'm also only 5'1", too. I'm short. So, I think that's important, because it just, for myself, it shows where I was, and I will never get back to that. I will never let myself get back to that.
They say that you can't tell, where you're going unless you look to where you were.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I feel that's a big part of it. I proudly announced, how much I weighed at 553. It was such a quick weight gain for me, where I had moved back from New Jersey. I had gone through a nasty split up with my wife, and that really put me in a bad depression. So I had gained a bunch of weight really fast, and and the problem with it is that I wasn't able to accept my limitations, and then when I realized I had to accept my limitations, and now I'm doing it, for myself, but that number is also hope for somebody else, who might be at that size and not know where to go or what to do at that point, to show them that this is the way, one of the possible ways to go.
Yeah, but at the same time, I personally, for me, I would never, I'm not the kind of person that's going to tell somebody who is in my similar situation physically that they need to have weight loss surgery. Because it's not anybody's place to say you have to make that decision on your own, and you have to accept that decision on your own, because don't do it for somebody telling you. If your mom or your dad or your cousin or your family is telling you that you need to have it done, I'm telling you, you have to make that decision on your own, because you will regret it if you do it for someone else, and you can't do it for someone else. It's all about being confident and happy with your choice for you and putting you first.
That goes
agree.
back to yourself.
Yeah,
Once again.
absolutely.
Being
With
true to
self-esteem,
yourself.
yeah.
I mean, not to say that I would, try to push that on anybody, but I'm just saying, if they consider that as an option, you know what I mean? I would recommend it from my point of view.
Oh, absolutely.
The option's there.
Yeah, I absolutely 150% would recommend it if asked. However, I guess I'm just coming from a point where I was told I should have surgery by many people, that I will die if I don't have surgery. From many people told me that. So, and it kind of forced me the opposite way. It forced me not to want to have surgery. So that's why it was so important for me to make the decision on my own.
Wow. It's just, I had another question, but I can't remember what it is right now. So we're trying to go on, and I'll try not to cry. So Tom.
What's up?
Okay, so you've done a couple recordings with me, and they've all been kind of goofy, corny, zany, the fun stuff.
Yeah.
This is the first recording that you've been a part of that's been on the serious side.
Mm-hmm.
Is there anything that you want to say about your story, or probably something that you have gone through personally that maybe someone out there could learn from?
Well, I mean,
you don't have to if you don't want to. This is a totally, the format here is totally free. If you don't want to talk about it right now, you don't have to. I'm just leaving it open.
yeah. Well, I mean, one thing you gotta know is there's always bullies out there. Someone's always gonna bully you about something, and don't pay any of those people no mind. Like way back when, I used to get bullied a lot in school for being short. I remember this really tall Shaquille O'Neal looking guy would always make fun of me, be like, "Hey, shorty, I'm sorry I didn't see you." And one day, I decided to kick him in the nuts. He saw me that day. And then I didn't get picked on again for being short.
Way to bring the light element.
Whoa.
I mean, I know that's a little...
No.
Diabetes.
Yeah, diabetes. Yeah, see, I don't do the serious stuff too much, but yeah, anyway, just don't listen to what bullies gotta say. It comes down to the golden rule, and treat others the way you want to be treated. A lot of people say I'm a nice guy, and that's not a bad thing, I guess. But
you are a nice
Some
guy.
people think I'm too nice. I give people a lot of chances when I shouldn't.
Yes.
And even though I've been backstabbed by people.
I mean, I just met you. I think you're a nice guy, so
Thank you, I appreciate it.
absolutely.
He is
But,
a nice guy.
I'm starting to learn the rule, treat others the way you want to be treated. If you want me to treat you, if you treat me great, I'll treat you great. But if you treat me like garbage, I'm going to treat you like garbage times 10. Okay? So, I don't know.
Tell us.
Yeah.
And I've known you for what seems like forever.
I think it's about 11 years now.
Exactly, and not once did I ever feel like that we treated each other anything less than human. You know what I'm saying? We joke around with each other, we crack on each other all the time, but that's just because we're close.
Yeah, we got the love.
You know what I'm saying?
It's called,
it's all love. It's mutual respect. We make
breaking each
jokes.
other's stones and
Exactly. We bust each other's balls all the time, but it's like we're brothers.
When you have that closeness, you're able to do that and not get offended.
Yeah.
You just know that people are joking around.
Because you don't mean it out of malice or any kind of ill will or whatever. You're just talking like, hey, let's see if he'll snap back at me.
Yeah,
You know what I'm
exactly.
saying? I come from a long line of people that just tell jokes. You know what I'm
It
saying?
took me a while to be like that, but yeah.
Yeah, and when I was a kid, I couldn't take a joke at all.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't take a joke. I couldn't take it when people were being like when I felt like people were being nasty. I was ultra sensitive. You know what I'm saying?
But yeah,
You know, mostly as a defense mechanism. But you know, now I'm the one telling the jokes.
Yep.
So.
When I was little, people would pick on me for my height. They'd pick on me for my weight. Like, I'm actually the same size as you, 5'1". And my doctor even actually says I'm overweight and I'm 220. And I'm like, I think he says I should lose like 60 pounds to be normal. And I'm like, damn.
See, the doctor's numbers, though,
I think they're a little exaggerated.
yeah, because I was even told by my surgeon that the goal was to get me into what would technically look on a doctor's note as overweight and still be obese.
Mm-hmm.
Not morbidly obese.
But not morbidly obese.
I didn't mean to get back into the whole weight thing. But
No, why are you?
Speaking of morbidly obese, yeah, I think you have a story that would really fit that whole thing about discrimination.
Morbid mean death?
Well, I think morbid doesn't mean death. I think it means you're just, when you talk about death, is morbid. Although, we could totally look that up and see what morbid means.
No, I mean, but the
Means like you're basically telling
your
someone you
little
look like death.
discriminatory, thing that happened.
Yeah, we don't have to talk about that.
No.
No.
Oh, okay.
But I just wanted to say that I can vouch that Tom and Kyle are both really amazing, awesome, great guys. And
single. No,
and they are single and they come highly recommended. So hit them up. We'll link that below.
Right. Next to the what is it, Boston Cream, you can always
Yeah.
Yep, the album's coming out soon.
Yes.
Check that out on iTunes.
Check that out too. No, I met Kyle about 9 years ago. No, 9 years probably.
Yeah.
Had to be 9 years.
It's been like 8,
No,
9
maybe
years.
8, 9.
Yeah, because we met. The way we met is crazy. But
we don't have to talk about how we met.
We don't have to talk about that. It's just I probably wouldn't have changed how we met.
No, I wouldn't either. I will never forget that day, the first day that I met him, and it was in Port Authority in New York. And honestly, I can say that was the best day of my life, not to sound cheesy or weird, but to meet somebody so positive and so inspirational, but in his own way, even though he doesn't think he is. I mean, he impacted my life. I can't even begin to describe and tell everybody, because he's been a part of my life for such a long time, and he's the person that I wouldn't have, like, I cannot have him out of my life. Like, there's no way. And I hung out with him a few times, and then I met Tom, and Tom and our relationship developed, friendship developed more online, on Facebook and texting, but we got close too, and I really consider him family as well, and they're just really great, and it's bittersweet. It's bittersweet to be here in Connecticut. Not looking forward to going back home, but it's definitely bittersweet.
You can always come back.
I am coming back.
Yeah.
I love these guys. It's been a fantastic day.
You guys can always come back. Trust me. I even though it's been a short time, I feel like this is exactly what this was for. It was for us to catch up. It was for us to do this podcast. And I honestly believe that those who listen to it will probably take something from it, and that's the overall idea. Like, one of our favorite sayings was "Let your haters be your motivators."
Absolutely.
And we would constantly say that and never be normal.
Yeah, that and never be normal.
Yeah.
It was let your haters be your motivators, because it's true. You know, people are going to hate on you no matter what. So use it. Use that hate to motivate yourself, you know, and not to, you know, not to change yourself into what they want you to be, you know, whatever they're hating on.
Don't use it for vengeance.
Yeah,
No.
don't
Use it for use it for fuel to motivate yourself.
Yeah, and use
To be
it,
better.
Yeah, to be, and for good.
To be
you know?
whoever you want to be.
Absolutely.
And don't let anyone else tell you who you should be.
Absolutely. I agree 150%.
This was very therapeutic. I really, and you know, I feel like now I gotta put some essential oils on, which I'm probably gonna end up doing before we go to bed.
Yeah.
But I think this is a nice place to close out. Does anyone have any final words?
Let's be our best selves together.
I like that.
Diabetes.
And before we go, I'd like to thank Keith, aka Boot in NY and Jay, for you know, for
In CT today.
in New Jersey
Right now
or
in
Connecticut,
CT.
I guess.
Yeah, I really like to thank him because we decided to do this together, and we're gonna collab on his channel. So I will link his stuff on the description box below. Check him out. Really inspirational stuff. You've done your weight loss diary and some gameplay I've seen on your channel and other things. So let other people know what you do.
Well, I started the show a little over a year ago. I actually last year my New Year's resolution was to set up a YouTube and make a weekly show, and so that's got me rolling into doing something creative. And I mean, watching the beginning stuff, it was rough. You guys mentioned earlier when you guys started doing podcasts and everything, and you had the voices in the background of the software and all that.
I mean, that's what you get when you're trying to use free software.
Right, exactly. And that's exactly where I was. I was using some hack software, and I'd done that for a long time, but I really didn't know what I was doing at that point with the new software. And I just figured I'd learn as I went along. And so I did this show called Love and Hate, and it started out as things in your daily life that you love, but then you start to hate them for other reasons, and why. And it was the good and the bad of everything, under the sun. And I did that for a long time, and then I just kind of felt that it was getting stale. So I went in another direction with it, where I would do some videos with other people, some challenges and things like that. I tried to do one with a buddy of mine, and it was absolutely a complete fail, but it was still funny. I did a couple of them with my niece and nephew, who everybody seemed to really like on the channel. One of the most popular videos I think I have is called Fluffy Wieners, which got a metric fuck ton of hits right away, and then YouTube scaled it back. And I think just the title itself really had the potential to motivate the possible gay community to get on board with it.
I mean, they could have been searching for something on
exactly.
a totally different subject, but
or some 10-year-old just types in wieners into his computer and it pops up, whatever. But that is one of our funniest videos. It's actually, I think it was a year old last week or something.
Nice.
And so we did that. We did some other funny challenges and stuff. And then I kind of took it in the direction of a news show where I talked about current events and stuff.
I like it.
But then after a while, like I said, with my my weight loss surgery and everything, I started working, and I was able to do more things, and I really didn't have time to shoot those videos. Between coming up with an idea, scripting it, editing it, putting everything together, it was a real time-consuming deal, and I just didn't have the time for it. So I started shooting the weekly weight loss vlogs, because that's mostly uncut stuff. I could just sit down in front of a camera every week and just talk about what I've been going through that week, and good things, bad things, whatever may have you. And I get a lot of feedback. Well, I started to get a lot more feedback for a while. It's kind of died off ever since. Since I haven't really been doing the whole sub for sub thing with people. I'll get some ads and stuff like that. But I do have a few people that really matter to me, that do comment on my videos, and they watch every week, and they'll tell me, oh, this is good, or maybe you should try this, to give me little tips
Feedback,
and tidbits, exactly, tidbits and whatnot. and some of them really help out. Some of them I'll take in, but I always, of course, anybody takes advice with a grain of salt.
Mm-hmm.
But so I've been doing that for a while. I want to go back to some of the challenge formats, maybe some other just vlogging stuff in general, like live vlogging, instead of just sitting in front of the camera. Just more fun stuff. I really want to get down on that. So, that's the future of what's to come on my channel. And it's, www.youtube.com/bootinNJ. So, check that out. And, that's about it for me, other than, let's be our best selves together.
Beautiful. I really love your sign off, by the way.
Thank you.
Okay, so and Allie, we've talked a lot, and is there anything that you would like to sign off with, to leave us with?
I'm not sure. I mean, I think I'm just glad that I was able to do this with you and able to talk about this again and follow up, and hopefully more stuff to come in the future.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
So.
Yep. And I'd like to take this time and just to say, just once again, thanks to everybody involved, Allie, Boo, Tom, you know what I mean? And it's going to be a wild ride editing this.
I can only imagine.
But it's going to be worth it. So, just like we've been saying, let's be our best selves together. Let your haters be your motivators. And like I always leave for everyone, peace, love, and never be normal. Thanks for listening.